But there's a mask that they used on the poster that I had to throw together in a couple of days. It's supposed to be a frog. It was based on a Southeast Asian frog mask that I had to shit out in 2 days out of fiberglass. Because they didn't think it had, they said, well, buying this thing, we just need copies of it made. And they got this thing in the mail that was like 6 inches tall. It was a wooden carving. And it's just like, oh, this isn't going to work. Can you make one of these? So I sculpted it, and then they designed by committee, the art director and the director, and everybody got on the phone. It's like, well, wait a minute, when do you need this? 2 days from now. Make up your decisions by 1 o'clock today, because I'm going to put a mold on it at that point, at 1:01. You can't make any changes after that. You have to tell the directors where to get off. If you're going to be needing this, and you need it by time, respect the fact that it takes time to make it. Your poor planning does not make my life an emergency.
Yeah, and I get that.
But you have to plan. And for instance, but that's a thing shot locally. It's on the front of the poster for the movies across the world. And you turned on Netflix, it's the mask. It's always the frog mask. But the other thing that was shot here was this thing that followed. The guy gets bitten on the arm by a rattlesnake. And on one day, they want to shoot the stuff where he's just been bitten, and he has to cut it open with his pocket knife, which he opens with his teeth, and he cuts open on screen, and it starts bleeding out. And then that afternoon, they wanted the second stage where it's gigantic, and they gave me 40 minutes to change between the two, which if it was a normal makeup, it would never have been done. They were silicone arms. I ended up making full sleeves and said, you know what, costume change, he's going to wear a shirt with the sleeve rolled up because I'm not going to try to blend this on his shoulder. He's wearing a white shirt. You can have a t-shirt on underneath it if you want, but he's rolling it up because I'm only going to blend down here by his knuckles, and the top is going to be covered by his sleeve. That's the way it's going to work if you want both of these things shot in one day. 2 sleeves, a lot more work. But instead of waiting on set with 50 people, waiting around getting paid whatever ridiculously low sum of money we were getting paid, which was actually good money, but it was an independent thing. For the kind of stress that I put myself through because I want them to have the best product in the world, I spend 20-hour days getting shit ready. Because I choose to, because I don't want to tie them up and have them sitting there and saying, I have to have 3 hours turnaround. You cannot shoot another frame of film until I'm done with this. I can't do that to them. I have 40 minutes, I did it in 20. Slid one off, slid one on, blended it off. The first one had a built-in plumbing. I said, and a shield so that when he slid it on, here's where you're going to cut. Right here, you're actually going to cut. There's a little pinhole to let the blood soak up into there, to let the air out, so as soon as he puts that knife in there and he hits the shield and starts pulling it, I'm going to pump. You tell me when he's doing it, because I'm going to be on the other side of the bed, hiding, because otherwise I'm in the fucking shop.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, start pumping, and when it's like I heard a gasp, and he did this thing, and all of a sudden they got done. It was just like everybody just started breathing. It's like that was the best thing ever, and I didn't know what it looked like until I saw the film. And it's just like, that fucking worked. And then we got that shot, we slid that arm off. Well, I took him to the trailer, which was a shithole, and slid that arm off and slid the next arm on, which was the big one that his dad, who's the fucking comedian with the Hot Pockets, Jim Gaffigan, sawed off with a Sawzall. And then he goes to the hospital with an arm stump that I made after that. But the second arm was this big black thing that, his dad came in, fired this thing up, we cut away, we see his mom, who is, all these people are fucking great actors. It was, Walton Goggins was in it. God, you have to look it up. It's all those that follow. But the effects work out. It's just prepping for it so that it's not going to take up the time. You can do things like that in advance so that you can get top-notch work, but you just have to find the right people like him or somebody else that possibly, did you get any other, or did your director talk to anybody else besides this person or somebody else recommend this person to them. Because it just might have been a really bad choice.
It was a really bad choice.
Because for the most part, I mean, you start talking. I'm not
I
gonna
would
talk.
say the biggest mistake that a lot of filmmakers make is they're like, yeah, I had all this makeup stuff that's in this film, and they're talking to you about it, and then like the day of, they're like, hey, I asked these 2 people to come help you. Like, why? Like, if I need help, I'm gonna ask for help. And I'm gonna ask the right people that can complement what I can do.
Right, exactly.
Not just like you just throw 3 people together and it's a disaster, because you have 3 different styles.
Sorry, I'm ranting.
No, it's like.
I would like to see that. As a teenager, I did it for real.
Yeah.
I had a friend who got bit, and I did the Boy Scout thing, and sucked out the poison, and carried his stupid ass out of the woods for 2 miles. It's up,
I'm sure it did. I'm sure.
but I'd like to see that actual
I don't think
scene.
they even recommend that you do that now.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
They just you kind of do a semi-loose tourniquet and go to the hospital.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can do stuff on a shoestring budget and make it look good, as long as you know how, you were saying, blending is key. That is literally the key to the whole thing.
Mhm.
You can buy little things and make it work, not 100% of the time, but most of the time. But it's when you have a filmmaker that understands what this takes to make this, and understand that it takes 2 hours to apply this thing,
Right.
and they will give you, like, hey, do you need 2 days prep work to make this happen? Sure, but a lot of people are like, hey, you can do this, right? You got 20 minutes. It's gonna take 2 hours to apply, then I gotta blend it, you know?
No.
Right.
And the reason I do the 10 minutes because I've had people that will take forever and really just you're like, okay, what the hell did you do? I just want to see a very quick what you can do under pressure. Because if you can't do a little bit under pressure, you're going to fold and get big stuff anyway.
The also thing is that I also look at everything as a big Venn drawing, the 3 overlapping circles.
Yeah.
And the big one is good, fast, cheap. Take 2, you can't have it all 3.
Yeah.
If you want it fast and good, it's not going to be cheap. If you want it fast and cheap, guess what's left out?
Yeah, I know.
Good. I mean, that is actually the way it works. I mean, I love sculpting things, because I can spend all day doing a thing, but when it gets done and you see it up close, I've got some, if you come back to the table,
Okay.
I've got a computer, but like just a scar for a character. He got, I suppose it's supposed to be gored by a deer or something, and he has a scar. And sculpted something, his actor's name is Bill Oberst, kind of a gaunt guy. If you see him, you'll recognize him. He's done a lot of character acting in a lot of films.
Sounds familiar.
But he's also interested in makeup as well. But I saw his picture, I recognized that guy, and talked with the director, found a life cast that looked sort of like them, and roughed it out on that, and sent the director pictures, knowing I'm never going to get them in advance, and didn't know how many days. But she said, yeah, I really like it. It was just this little Y-shaped thing. Lots of little tiny textural details. But if I brushed, eventually got down to where it was what it needed to be.
Right.
And put it on him, and he looked at himself, and it's just like, and he said, "This, I know the character." And this is one of those low-budget films that had him in it, and who are the folks that keep showing up, like Keith Meager keeps talking about, I cannot remember. These actors that keep showing up in these films, and he is one of them. Don't get old. Let me see if I have the internet night, because if I mention the
The
name.
internet's terrible here.
Yeah.
It is.
But anyway, but the other 2 actors are folks that are regularly, they come in for a day or 2, they lend their name to these horror things, and they're really nice people. The one was a little cranky because his flight came in, we shot his scenes at 1 o'clock in the morning, he had to leave by like 3:30 to be on to his next job.
Yeah.
And he was a little bit cranky, but he came in, he sucked it up. I've seen him in better moods, but he looked at it and says, this is helping me define it. And he just loved what it brought to the character. And the other famous-ish guy looked at him and said, if you were to look up person, I can't remember what exactly the word, shady character. This is what shady character is defined by, is this look you have right now.
Yeah.
And it was just a very subtle scar. There's not a lot to it, but I brought some, and I figure I'd probably apply one to somebody a little bit later on. But they're just very subtle things that can go on quickly. If you've not played, you can get sort of generic ones at Tinsley Transfers. They're very limited, but this place called Monster Makers locally sells everything you need to make them. I think they started selling the paper and the transfer acetate. Arnie sells his own thickened, his ProTac, which is the same type of generic acrylic adhesive as Prozade is.
Okay.
But ProTac, well, is his version. People keep putting Cadasil in the Prozade, trying to thicken it up. Worst idea in the world. Bad,
Can't breathe that stuff either.
but it also, it just makes them shrink. They crack if you're treating them. If you freeze them and dehydrate them like you're supposed to, they freeze, they shrink, they're opaque. You have to get the moisture out of it. You can either buy Arnie's paste, which is almost the consistency I like. You open it up for a little bit, stir it, let it be open, and it gets a little creamier. And then tint that, because it dries clear. So if you can get just the right amount of like fleshy tint, if you take, I've got some different samples of different tests at my table. But you
So it's
can
like
get
zombie
it
skin that actually works.
But what's that?
It's like zombie skin that actually works.
Yeah.
It's not made of latex. This is made of Prozade, which is
Okay.
an adhesive, so it's waterproof. It was created for, yes, somebody back there.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of the latex, I was going to ask, how do you mitigate actors and actresses with latex allergies? Like, is there more silicone-based
You have to ask
stuff
first.
now?
Yeah, you ask first. I have run worlds of foam latex. I made foam latex for, anybody here see a film called Evolution? It was a thing about these, nope.
Was that the one with
women?
There was all these creatures that were being born and stuff.
Yeah, it was
There was a giant space.
Orlando.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, you did that.
That giant space asshole. Those were 4x8 foam latex sheets. I took a table and put sides on it. It was melamine, and we would take and dump buckets of foam latex after I mixed it up and screed it out to make sheets of foam. And then we would let it gel. It goes to a gelling phase. And then we would sit there and texture ripples into it based on a big drawing, so that we could piece together about 60 of these things into the giant space asshole. But I also worked on molding the baby birds and all the stand-in puppets.
Okay.
Yes, questions?
I hate to be this person, but when you said space asshole, now I see it as an asshole. Was that the inspiration? And do you use a lot of things like that as inspiration in work in your makeup?
No,
No, serious. It's a legitimate question, because sometimes with makeup, it does look like garbage. It looks kind of gross. That's the effect you want, what you're going for. So do you use the absurd as inspiration for your designs?
It depends. I mean, because the director says things, and you process them, and you say, "All right, you got money? I can do that."
Yeah, I was gonna say, you have to ask for examples. You were busy and you gave me this one film the one time, and I was not able to do it, but they wanted the tongue to look, remember, it was like all,
That was,
it was like chewed up, kinda, not chewed up, but like, it was roughed up.
was that the one down in,
Was it a while? Yeah.
What, yeah, because I turned that down and got something else, because I didn't want to, because I'd worked with them before,
Mhm.
in a school that got closed down that had bats in it.
It was
And I-
frostbite, that's what it was, frostbite on the tongue.
Yeah.
And I said, well, give me some pictures of what you're looking for. And I'm like, and then you gotta think, okay, well, what's gonna stick to the tongue?
Right.
You know?
Nothing.
Yeah.
And silicone
Metal.
silicone.
I
Yeah.
do have another question, and keep in mind, everything with me, it was amateur. So
No,
when
you're
we had
fine.
to do a lot of like makeup and hair makeup, we used a lot of oatmeal, a lot of like jelly. Is that something you use professionally too? Do you use a lot of common products? Or is it just something people who have really small budgets do?
I was gonna say, there's a difference, like, he does a lot of the larger budget
do a lot of
films.
large
Ah,
budget where
so
time is money. So a lot of times I have to come in
Mhm.
with things prepared or something that is generic that could work. I've done things where on I See You, besides the frog mask, there was a kid who had birds. He was just in one scene, you see him over the shoulder type of thing briefly. And it's just like, you know, you can have as much time as you need. But I didn't want to do like a build-up makeup on the day out of, because there are gelatin formulas that work. You can make appliances out of gelatin, but you, instead of mixing it with water, some people can, you can do, I've done, like quick casualty stuff where you mix literally Knox gelatin, like by packets with a tablespoon of hot water with little breadcrumbs, and it gives you this stuff that you can work with that dries, but it dries and cracks and breaks off. You can do appliances and you can make build-up gelatin by getting the same type of stuff, a purer version, like what's called 300 bloom gelatin, and you can get from soap makers and candle makers sorbitol and sorbitol and glycerin.
Glycerin, I was gonna say glycerin, yeah.
Which don't dehydrate or don't evaporate like water. So it's a sort of like, I think if I recall correctly, like 100 grams of sorbitol, 100 of glycerin, and like 20 grams or so of gelatin will give you this, you let it soak together. You let it soak overnight until all this stuff is absorbed into the gelatin, and then you microwave it gently, like 15 seconds at a time, until it melts. And you can put in some zinc oxide, which will make it impervious to sweat, or more impervious to sweat. So if you use it for, you can put it in molds like you would an appliance. You know, something simple you can sculpt up out of clay from Monster Makers, and you can put it in a silicone or stone mold that you can buy from Monster Makers. He used to sell gelatin there.
And
I've got
cubes, yeah,
pounds
the
of it.
little cubes,
Well,
yeah.
but he also would sell the powdered stuff,
Oh, okay.
because I sell 20 or 30 pounds of that. Because I've made appliances for entire movies out of this stuff, because it had to look like something that a guy, this was a film called Deadly Impact that Bob Kurtzman directed, that I was makeup and visual effects supervisor for. And this guy, you see him actually supposedly sculpting his own nose appliances and stuff. And because he didn't, Bob said he would make him out of gelatin because it was easy. So we made him out of gelatin and then shipped those off to New Mexico. And I was working on The Spirit at the time, this Frank Miller film. So I flew out there for one day when they were blowing up the car for the end of the film. And, so you can use gelatin, you can heat it up in like a double boiler bath to get it warm again. You can use it built up directly on the skin. It won't dry and shrink in. Crack. And you can find these recipes or contact me, take a card. I can put stuff and direct you in the direction of getting formulas, or I'll give you the formula itself and how to make it so that you can use it, because these are really good materials. It's better than latex because it's latex free. I have run gallons of
Allergy
foam,
free for people.
but I have not had to use latex for years. I usually use silicone, Crozade paste, Crozade transfers. I make a lot of silicone. I've done silicone for, what was the 3D movie, the Chainsaw, Texas Chainsaw 3D. I did Grandpa's makeup. It was the original guy who played Grandpa in the first movie, except Bob and I was teaching Bob how to apply silicone to that movie. And we did it in under 3 hours, doing his application, bald cap and everything. So and I think I got pictures of that stuff at the table too.
Well, this is an unrelated question. You talk about using a lot of appliances and prosthetics, and you talked about how a lot of your formulas. I'm just curious, how biodegradable is a lot of your prosthetics and a lot of the makeup you use? I'm just kind of curious, because you use a lot of rubber, a lot of different glues. How is that, how do you recycle it? Is it,
Well, I was gonna say, so the gelatin stuff, hot water is gonna dissolve it,
Yeah.
well,
which
that's
is
what I'm kind of
perfect. That way you
asking.
can put it in hair, you can, have somebody like their head kind of ripped open. All they do is stand in the shower.
Oh,
It just-
I've done a scalping makeup by literally, there's a material called Gaffquat, which is the resin that all hair gels and things like that are made out of. It's like a thick, almost like a super thick honey feeling thing, but you can thin it a little bit with a little alcohol. And you get this, and then I've plastered down, see how my hair, mine sort of thin. If I were to put this on, I could make myself look literally completely bald by taking a cream stick and running it across the hair till it fills in. And it would look perfectly shiny. This is how it's drawn. But I just did like the middle part of his hair, and then I had made some like red and flesh tone gelatin drops. I just poured some together on some plastic, little sections of it, and just peeled those off. Had some boiling water, and I said, got his hair down and said, now this is gonna be a little warm. I put some of this stuff up on top, and then I had made some prostate transfers of sort of like some little edges that just kind of like came up to a sharp lip, and just put those so that it looked like it came up to an edge, and put that right up over where this skin stuff was, and it looked like somebody took a knife, cut in there, cut across, and just peeled it back. And I know I've got some pictures of those in the slideshow. I can bring those specifically up, but simple makeup. I took the gelatin, dipped it in the boiling water, just kind of put it on and smooshed it onto the gaff-quadded hair. So it looked like muscles, and like it was
The tissue.
shit on top of the skull after the skin got peeled off. And it just worked exactly. That was for a Western that was shot up in Michigan at a storage yard where the guy decided, I want a Western town backlot over in my back area here amongst the poison ivy and catnip. And we shot, Gary Jones shot, it was called Warpath, I think. And he did some his own matte shots, because he and I did visual effects together at Creature Court. He did matte shots of like extension of mountains in the background behind this first facade Western town. And in there, or inside the storage, some of the indoor storage lockers, they built some sets like a saloon and the inside of a cabin and some other stuff. And he had his own little back lot in close to Romulus, Michigan or something like that. It was a really weird thing. We were doing explosions and all this other fun stuff. We were doing pneumatic explosions. Gary Jones, no, it wasn't him directly. He was the first AD, a friend of his that he worked with had inherited. His mom died, got some money, so he's making films under, I think it was like Panorama Pictures. You know, it was this big, so Panorama, just a throwback to the Westerns of the 50s and the 60s. It was a fun movie.
To go back to what you were saying before, like when you have that recipe with the gelatin and everything.
Yeah.
That's prepping in advance.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be somewhere and they're like, hey, we're gonna add this, do you think you can pull this off? So I always keep Knox gelatin packets in my kit, and because I don't have all that stuff pre-mixed like you do, what I do is I make sure that they're not allergic to latex. Once I apply the gelatin and form it, I do like a light tapping of latex over top of it, because it'll keep it from cracking. It keeps it nice and soft. So if it's on your face, it moves with your face. So like we just did that
Oh, was that thing with the...
with the face,
Yeah.
she got shot with a shotgun. You just gotta learn how to paint it three-dimensional, which is what I did there. So this is all gelatin. Literally just right on her face. And I'll do it in a cup, I'll do it in a mug, and then I pull the excess out, and then they're little danglies. You can just kind of like
Yeah, it'll
gelatin in.
go through a cooling phase where it's
Yeah.
kind of stretchy, and then But there are other things, you can coat it with other things. There's a company down, Mike Davies Cosmetics makes this material called watermelon, which is a water thinnable vinyl material, almost like a bald cap material. It is a bald cap material.
Basically.
Except it's not very stretchy, because for doing like appliance, flat silicone appliances, a lot of times those tend to be, have an enveloping material on it, a bald cap material that you can actually dissolve to blend those appliances off. So that material will either be soluble with either alcohol or acetone. Both have benefits, both have shortcomings. Acetone, it's fingernail polish remover. It is unpleasant smelling, and putting it on somebody's skin, a lot of people don't like that idea because it dries. I mean, I wash my hands with things like alcohol and acetone regularly, and my hands are so dry I can't pick up most things like paper, coins, and I think I burned my fingerprints off, or they just don't register anymore. But the alcohol doesn't flash as quickly, so if you're in a rush to make the stuff, acetone is faster to work with. Acetone gets crispy sooner, so if you don't use them after such and such time, it starts getting a little less stretchy. The alcohol doesn't have that type of problem. The alcohol, you could use denatured alcohol or ethanol if you can get it without too much trouble. It doesn't smell like a doctor's office, like 99% alcohol, which is what I use. The stuff you get at drugstores is generally 70%, 91% if you're lucky, if you can find it. But for most of our work, for thinning the paints and the chemicals, it's 99%. So that determines which one you can do. But you can use that to coat gelatin as well. You can use watermelon. If you had to, you could use new skin or liquid bandage, because that is literally, it is what's called flexible collodion. A lot of people have heard of a thing called rigid collodion, which has something in there that when it dries, it shrinks, it makes you scar, it makes an indented skull.
It dehydrates your skin.
Exactly, it just
It pulls it down.
Exactly.
So
And
you
it
can show like a
shrinks.
scar that your face was cut like a year ago. It'll show like
Yeah.
the indentation of that.
It's a really cool effect, but it's an out-of-kit thing. If you had to do it every day, it's a harder thing to pull off because generally tends to be a thick liquid and it's hard to control. Best way of doing that is actually making a little stencil. I've done stuff where I make a stencil so that it can control exactly how much area, if I've had to use that. I've used it for a couple of little things, little tiny things like up in a hairline or close to a hairline.
And that depends on the person too,
Yeah.
because I've done it on a bunch of people and they just kind of peel it off, and then I've done it on some people who are like, this is like leaving a scar on my face.
It burns or
Yeah.
something, because
I'm
it's,
like,
because there's acetates, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of root chemicals in it that, there's reasons people don't use it for makeup as much. You should put down a barrier, but it makes it not work as well, because it's not grabbing the skin. The barrier kind of makes it easier to get appliances off. Yes?
So, I've been going from latex to moving on to balloon rubber. Have you ever used that? Because it's latex free, does the same kind of stuff as latex for what you use latex for. I only find it out of one company, but I was wondering about that.
Company.
Hollywood Effects.
Well, it's balloon latex. Arnie Goldman sells it as dipping latex or glove latex. It is latex. It doesn't have clay in it. See, latex on its own without the clay will not hold its shape.
Okay.
It will hold its shape, but it will be stretchable. A mask has got latex that has got basically like bentonite or some other clay type filler in it, so that that's what makes it thick. The balloon latex is latex like it comes out of the tree. It's treated with some sulfur, which is why when you burn it, it smells like rotting eggs. because it's being vulcanized. It's on its own, it will stretch and not return to shape. Mixing with sulfur, if you ever took chemistry class and melted sulfur and poured it into water, what comes out is this red thing that stretches because all the molecules cross-link. I know a lot of chemistry. I was interested in chemistry, science, physics, which really, I should have been an engineer. But that's what makes it stretchy. So you treat it with latex and zinc and some other things, and that makes it rubber gloves. That's latex gloves. The type you don't wear, the tan ones, it's all still latex. It's used to make condoms, rubber gloves, and we use it to make nurnies. We spread it out real thin on a piece of like glass or wood, thin layers, and then if you hate your hands, you take your hands, you put it on there how it sticks until you powder it. You take that and you start rubbing it, and first it like really irritates your skin. If you put on rubber gloves, it just sticks. So what you do is you get a belt, sanding belt cleaner, and use that, which I'll tell you where to get those from. But you do that and you start breaking little holes into it, and you end up with this cobwebbing stuff. And the more layers you can make bigger pieces, but I'll use that, I'll make tablespoons of that so that when somebody reaches in to pull out their intestines, they pull out the intestines, they also pull out this stretchy stuff that you kind of tie down one end, as it pulls out, it goes snap, 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 and you pull and yank it, and I can show you some video, some stuff that they wanted specifically the snappiness for some reshoots for a thing called Shelby Oaks. I know I bet it's online when you can't get it. I was test of reaching into this guy's eyeballs and grabbing meat and pulling his face off. They needed the stretch to composite in to a shot that they added, which was one camera, no moving, guy falls into frame, somebody comes in, reaches in, pulls his face off right with no cutting wheel. So that was a combination of makeup effects, digital effects, which I suggested and figured out how to engineer, and ended up performing the part of the killer because I knew my fingers would fit into his eye sockets because I built it and had somebody else pumping the blood so I could reach in, grab his mouth, grab a big chunk of meat, face meat, and pull it and grab the nurnies underneath, which were glued down with slime, so I could rip the skin off. And I found out just how fucking strong silicone was, because I pre-scored the shit out of it, and it did not want it to go. So those were tested, thankfully, on the day. I made it so it was swappable, so we got 3 takes of that action in less than 1 hour, because I made it portable and resettable, because I said you don't want to wait for 3 hours for me to reset the one face. I just proposed I will make copies of the whole rig with blood tubing that we hook up, and it will save you a lot of time, because I know you got a lot of other shit to shoot for these reshoots for this movie that is coming out on October 3rd on pay-per-view. It's called Shelby Oaks. I think somebody online just announced it the other day. But Neon Releasing is putting it out. They bought it, just put a couple million into reshoots, and I did that for them. But instead of doing resets for 3 hours, I made it so you screw this thing down. We did the thing, you unplug the blood tubing, unscrew that one, put the next one in place, screw it down, hook up the blood tubing, prime the pump, and while they're looking at the footage, it's like, okay, you guys gonna be ready? So we're done. We've been waiting over here. Come on, I got places to go and things to do. I have to go spend that fucking money you just paid me. Because I told them it's gonna be a lot of work, and you have 3 weeks to do it out. I can do that in that time. This is gonna be a song. That's for an eternity for me. Because I had that, and I had to make a body that the dog could tear apart. So I had, what's her face? Jill Bergner come in, and I hired her to come in for a week and a half to come and go to set with me.
Now, I heard that, to get some of those stringy bits, whatever, I've never used it, but it's mixing, latex or whatever have you in Prozade.
No.
Yeah, we get stretchy.
Like the slimy stuff?
I don't know about slimy, but like when you see somebody's mouth and and there's all the pieces that are, stuck there that stretches and hold that
Oh,
together.
like just tissue and stuff like that? Or-
Yeah, where you're set, like you would put it between your fingers and you open up and you get it kind of webbing, but it only works once. You
Oh, no, that-
can't just do it over and over.
That's,
It's restriction.
that's ultra slime.
Yeah,
That's,
so
ultra
that's
slime.
Yeah, it's like from Aliens where it's dripping off the teeth and stuff.
No, it could be just like,
no, it's the stretchy stuff. Arnie sells that stuff.
Yeah.
It's called creature slime. But you can make it out of borax and the clear school glue. It's basically that in water, and you get the right amount, and it precipitates. There'll actually be leftover water, but depending upon, and that's the thing, you have to play with the ratios, and you can find it, because kids were making slime for a long time. I mean, it's basically a non-Newtonian fluid.
right.
So-
But this wasn't a slime, this was just like,
No, that's
like you
exactly-
got pieces of skin that you're now
It's just
splitting
thickened.
apart.
It's thickened though, that's all it is.
Yeah,
It's
almost
based
like
on-
you're doing with the nerves when you're
Well,
stretching. That's the way to look
I
at
will
it.
take and I'll put that on the nerdies, so that whenever you're pulling this stuff out, you get that additional stringiness.
Okay,
So I mean,
cool.
that's one of the things that I added for that stuff. They wanted as much stretching, because they just did not want to digitally model that. Because it was all basically gonna be a thing where they're gonna use him, and then whenever the fingers go into the eyeballs and just start grabbing, it's gonna be a digital blend into, basically him with this handful of meat, and then use his body for the plate for the rest of it, with just a little bit of the skull thing that I built with the meat being pulled off. They just wanted that stretch for a shot cut, and they wanted no cutaways. So that was just the whole, and I told them how I was gonna do it, and said it's a lot of work, and it's gonna cost you this much money, but it's better than waiting and having to reset, because you're gonna be spending money sitting around. And I say, for me to do it with help from one person is gonna be less expensive than, and there were a lot of fucking people on set that day. And it's just like, if each one is making, let's say, $40 an hour or something like that, for me to go and, if there's 20 people times $43 an hour, times 3 hours, it's like, I don't want to be responsible for that. It's easier for them to pay up front for me to do it. And they said, yes, that's the way. And then a month later, they called and said, we're doing this big special effects extravaganza. And I was the first one they talked to in town about it, because it was the same line producer, same facility. It's the first thing that TRG wants to do as a full feature. So we have a whole puppet shop set up there right now. I'm doing animatronics and 3D printing and designing. I've got to show you some video of Trashy and Squidward Eyes that's going to be part of the backpack that talks. And the killer unicorn that kidnaps children transdimensionally and kills them. But I didn't say that. It's a camera. I didn't say anything about that film.
We did,
What film?
as far as like those little tendons and stuff like that, we did a scene where, like a modern day Red Riding Hood, and the wolf was biting the grandma's arm, and I bought the little thin licorice from, there's a largest candy store in the United
Oh,
States.
be sweet.
Yeah, so you get these little tiny red licorice, and then you just tuck them in here, and then they pull away, and it would snap. But they could eat it too.
Right.
And I don't know if you've ever seen the James Bond movie with Jaws, when he's biting the cable, that's licorice.
Oh, wow.
Literally, that was licorice, that he bit the chain when the cable car up in the mountains. There was a question back there?
Well, I'm feeling pretty inspired tonight. Matthew and I are want to work on something. As professional makeup people, do you find you use a lot of common props, a lot of bloodline, real common items instead of professional items? Because I'm feeling a little inspired when you say use licorice, use blood and lines. Do you improvise and use a lot of common things when you do makeup and do special effects?
As far as blood?
As far as anything, like for example, you're talking about how when the licorice, when they pull off and bite, it's actually licorice. When you talk about using simple bloodlines to pump blood out of our body, it sounds like a lot of common things you buy at a hardware store, or things you improvise because you have a need. Do you find that's what's best, improvising as you find a need, or is there a catalog that has professional equipment? I just trying to, like, for example, when we do something, we're gonna sit and brainstorm, we're gonna use the licorice idea, we can use how to make this line, we're gonna use blood tube to pump out the blood. Is that something you just come up with? Is it an industry trick, or is there a catalog?
So I can answer that because he went to school and all that stuff first, so I just kind of figured this stuff out on my
No, I
own.
didn't go to school.
Oh, you did? I thought you did.
I'm not complete, I taught school.
Oh, okay.
I was self-taught. I was born in 1960, so everything I learned was out of books. Or, yeah, on either channels 3, 5, 8, 43, 61 later on. And occasionally if a movie ended short, you'd get a featurette, which would be, a look behind the scenes at Earth versus the flying side. And I was a big Ray Harryhausen fan. First thing I wanted to do was be a stop motion animator. And it's just like, but you know, it's like he's working with foam latex, and I'm trying to find out about puppetry or how he made that. And then I discovered Famous Monsters on the way home from church one day, and it had a picture of a dinosaur on it that and Ray Harryhausen. It's like, oh! So found out they were made of foam, the foam latex, and I found out because they had this article about this young kid named Rick Baker who had met the Dick Smith and was going to be able, was working on Schlock with John Landis at the time, and was going to be doing some other stuff. But they were using foam latex for makeup and for Planet of the Apes. And it's just like makeup book. So I started going to the library. I took every book out of the Cleveland Public Library, the main one downtown, and I would spend my misgotten youth sitting there when I should have been outside in the sunshine playing, pouring through the books that they wouldn't actually let you take out. The old ones, and it's like, a formula for cap plastic, a formula for spirit gum, a formula for this and that, and just like, I'm writing this down, and it's just like, because they didn't have fucking copy machines in the library in 1972.
How does that
Huh?
compare to the commercial spirit gum? Because I know the spirit gum we have now is basically,
I don't use fucking
Sticky
spirit
I
gum.
don't use that either.
it's sticky spit. I remember when,
There are good spirit gums, but it's not the stuff you're gonna buy at Spirit.
no, that's spit.
You're gonna need like either Candias, Krylons is pretty good. Candias makes some good stuff. There are a lot of good spirit gums. If any I use, a lot of time it's matte, specifically for gluing down lace mustaches, and not the cheap lace mustaches you can get from, they're $10 or $12. You have to get decent things. I mean, that's the difference between a shitty makeup. If you can't hand lay a beard, don't go and buy something unless you take it, and if you buy one of those cheap ones that are lacquered down flat and looks like it was cut out of cardboard, the first thing you have to do is soak it in alcohol, get all that shit out of there, and if there's enough hair, try to restyle it.
Yeah.
Or you go to like John Blake Wigs and Hair, and you can get like a nice set of sideburns or a beard. You can get various sizes, whatever colors, but you're gonna spend, for a nice beard or something like that, you may spend $600 or $700, but it's beautiful. You can glue it down, you style it like you would hair. You trim it to what you need it, and then you take care of it. You put it on, you clean it off when you take it off. Most of the time now, I'll even use cap plastic with a little bit of Adagel in it, which is a mattifier. It's like a powdered dust that's used in cosmetics. But it mattifies it so it's not shiny, because spirit gum is shiny and you gotta get rid of the shine. And so the good ones are strong and has a matte, but I'll use the cap plastic, the alcohol-based stuff, because you get it on, and when it gets to the right tack, you press it in, you press it down with a little bit of alcohol on a Q-tip, it blends off that lace, and it looks gorgeous. And it stays on all day long, unless they drank a lot, in which case they sweat alcohol, and it loosens it up or it makes the paint come off. And the only reason I know that is because I've had fucking people drink like fish, and then it's just like, why is this coming off? It's like, yeah, he was drinking last night. Oh, okay. How much did he drink? We poured him into bed last night. It's like, okay, thank you. That's all I needed to know. So,
But
Questions back there, keep
I was
asking.
just say, I look around at the different places. I'll go to like thrift shops or like, and I'm like, you know what, this would make something cool. I can make something cool out of it. That's how I trial and error. I find like something, oh, I bet that would squirt blood really good, and I'll buy it, and probably sometimes it sucks, sometimes it's really good. So that's what I do.
And also if you want, on YouTube is Scott Props. So he makes props, but a lot of that stuff is just your common household items that he goes through, and you can go, oh, I could easily take this ice cream cone that doesn't melt and I can put it as this other thing. So Scott Props is a great way to use, he comes with regular homemade innovative items to come up with things. So that's a good resource too.
He does great videos.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
love it.
I bought a squirt bottle thing from this thing online, and it had a tube. So you literally just put it in there, and it was like infused. So you just put it in.
Oh, is he put it, immerse it and just
Yeah.
pump it? Oh,
I was like,
cool.
that was really cool. He called it a bladder, and which annual
There
bladder.
are things, because
It was $20.
Because there are things like, I'll find, because a lot of times people have like those little medical syringes that hold maybe 60 cc's, which is not enough to do anything, because if there's any,
90 like.
because if you have any length of tube there, it's like, well, by the time it gets to the actor, I'm about out. So you can go and you find these oil transfer guns, which have metric connections, and they're like quick disconnects, but they tend to be a little narrow-ish. So sometimes I'll get those and basically cut them down, mill them out, re-tap them, and put bigger quick disconnects on there. Ones that actually have, the type I've been using, I got familiar with because when my wife had her surgeries for her knees and hips, she's got all this, what do they call that, the adamantium, she's becoming the Wolverine. They're replacing all of her joints with metal. I'm waiting for her to pull things out of her bones and just
Just don't get her mad.
one of these days.
Don't get her mad, you don't want
Oh, I
to
know
take
that.
chances at this point.
But the quick disconnects are used for those, and I also noticed that they're using, because she has some of those little carrier things for circulating ice water. It's like, you can use those for the puppeteers for, putting the things up around their neck, or get them race car cooling suits, which is the same thing, quick disconnects, you pump it in, ice water goes in, circulates, it comes back out. Keeps the guy inside the suit cool. You put that on somebody in the creature suit for one. But those quick disconnects, when you disconnect them, nothing comes out. No water, no blood, no nothing. So it's like, replace it with that. They're somewhat bigger. Click that in, pump the thing. Whenever it gets, you're running out of blood, undo it. You take your thing over here, you unscrew your big oil transfer gun, pop that open, or open up, or, hook up a temporary thing so you can get suction out of there in order to backfill it, close your thing off so that it doesn't come out, close it up, and you've got another 1,200 or 1,500 grams of blood that you can pump without having to break out like the beer keg, which is the next stage, which is a little bit more elegant than getting out the fire extinguisher. Which, have you done the water fire extinguisher for blood yet? Have you pumped it up to 100 pounds?
Not that, usually my max is like 50, because I don't want an arterial spray.
Somebody told me once, it was actually Ron Hall, who was a makeup effects guy who was directing fear clinic, said, I want the blood to hit the ceiling. It's just like, you're an effects guy, you told me you want the blood, do you seriously want it? He says, yeah. And it's just like, he was thinking he was talking to me like a director talks to an effects guy, and effects guys don't listen. I'm another effects guy, so I made it so it would hit the ceiling, and when it did, he's like, I wasn't really serious about that, because it was at a practical location at a ice cream parlor, where a guy walks in with a gun and starts shooting up the place. And one of the waitresses gets hit in the neck and wanted a big gout, but he was joking about hitting the ceiling, which it did, so it's like, that was a little bit much. It's like,
We did one where we actually used the fire extinguisher, and it was an arterial bleed, it was a pop, and we actually had a piece of plexiglass in front of the camera. It broke the plexiglass. Camera department was not happy with this.
What the hell kind of blood did you use at it?
It was just a simple blood, but I don't know if there was just a little bit of a clot in it.
Was
But as
like-
it came out, it hit that shield. It could have been a weak point in that piece of plexiglass, but it kind of hit it dead center and it snapped it.
Was it, like sticky, the blood?
Because unless they had something stuck in the throat of the thing that they were not aware of, because that could have been, especially if they didn't have it there, you'd actually hit somebody. That
Yeah. It was scary for everyone.
Was
Yeah, 'cause we-
this a friend of yours that did this, or?
We were doing Uncle John's and Zombies in
Oh, okay.
in
In Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, and it was just a kind of an oh shit type thing. You know, we expected a splat on the
Fred
glass.
Vogel on that?
Was that?
Fred Vogel on that side?
I think so. But like I said, it was just a quick oh shit.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
We could have done it 100 times and it never would have happened again. But it was just that quick.
Unless it did dry, something might have dried in there, they might have showed
Yeah.
a paper towel in the end of the thing, didn't clear it out, and hard to do a plug or something, because.
So we did a lot of stuff with just a little bike pump and CO2, which I like
Those
those.
are good, I've used those for like somebody that set off their own
Yeah, the little quick.
bullets and stuff like that.
We got the next group that's coming in here. So if you guys want to continue to talk to us,
Yeah,
we'll
come
be
on
here,
over and
you know.
do
Yeah,
the,
I'm definitely
pictures and
gonna do-
stuff like that.